Just click on it. Go ahead and plug in the USB drive that you're going to be using to flash the ISO on. And simply click flash. Insert the bootable USB drive into the target computer and start the computer. And press enter. So yeah, basically we have got Ubuntu installed on our computer. Welcome to the updated installation guide of Ubuntu Desktop. In this video, I'm going to show you how to install Ubuntu Desktop on your PC, laptop. We're going to go step by step through each stage, from downloading the ISO to verifying it, to flashing it onto the USB drive, then starting a live boot and installing it permanently on your computer. So stay tuned and let's get started. If you're first time to the channel, please take a second to click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss new videos. If you will find this video helpful and you like it, please support with a like, I appreciate it very much. And if you're gonna have any comments or questions, please drop them down in the comment section below. Anyway, let's get started. The step number 1, we need to download official ISO file from an official website. So we gotta go to ubuntu.com/desktop. This is gonna take us to this official web page where we're gonna be able to download the ISO file that comes straight from the Ubuntu servers, making sure this is a genuine copy that hasn't been tampered with or nobody has modified it. So here on this website, you can learn a little bit more about Ubuntu Linux if you want to read through all these articles. As you can see, there is quite a bit to learn, so you can check it out if you like. But let's go ahead and continue with installation. For that, we need to click on this download Ubuntu Desktop. Just click on it. The latest version up to date is Ubuntu 24.04.2 LTS. This is the long-term support version, and this is what most users prefer to install because it offers a long-term support, which means you get in 5 years of free security and maintenance updates, extended up to 12 years if you want to choose Ubuntu Pro. If you don't want to choose it, you can reinstall it after 5 years and get another LTS version. So yeah, it gives you a little more information about it. There is a short-term support version as well, which is Ubuntu 25.04. As you can see, it's a little bit newer, but you're not going to get that long-term support. You only get security and maintenance updates for 9 months, which is not very much. So if you want to try it out, you can do that, but after 9 months, you will stop receiving any updates. So then you're going to have to either reinstall it for another short-term support version, or go back again to this long-term support version. So I recommend installing the long-term support if you want to have a stable, secure system for at least 5 years. So as you can see, it works with Intel and AMD 64-bit architecture. You can click this download button to download this image, and it will bring up this download window. Simply click save, and it will start the download process. This ISO file is huge, 5.9 gigabytes. So honestly, it is one of the largest ISO files I have downloaded so far, because usually you get in like Linux Mint, which is only 3.5 gigabyte, or like the Zorin OS that I have downloaded recently is only 3.5 gigabyte. Some other ISO files like Nobara Linux is like 4.5 gigabyte, but there are also much smaller ones that could be like Anduin OS, which is only like 2 gigabyte. While Ubuntu is definitely the largest one I have downloaded up to date, 5.9 gigabyte. So you need to have some pretty fast internet connection or have a lot of time. Anyway, it will take us about 25 minutes to download it, so I'm just going to fast forward it, and then I'm going to meet you in the second step. All right, let's continue on. All right, so the download is finally complete. Yeah, it was quite a long time, like 20 minutes or something. So after we have downloaded the ISO file, we need to make sure it hasn't been corrupted during the download, because sometimes that happens. Sometimes you might get some bits and pieces lost in the file during the download, because when it's been downloaded, it's not been downloaded like one file. It could be downloaded just like a set of small pieces, and then it just kind of glues back together. So if some of these pieces get lost along the way, you might be getting some corrupted files, and then when you're going to flash it onto the USB drive and we'll try to install it on the computer, during the installation process you might run into some errors which you don't want to face. So that's why it's important to verify the file before you flash it onto the USB drive, and that's what we're going to do right now. To do that, what we need is to get the SHA-256 checksum. And as you can see here, it says you can verify the download. So just click over here and it's gonna give you this checksum over here. Even though it says run this command in the terminal in the directory where you downloaded the ISO file, this command is meant for Linux. So if you already running on Linux, for example, you're already on Ubuntu or Linux Mint, you can run this command and yes, it will work. It should give you this result, Ubuntu, okay. So yeah, that's how it works. But if you're on Windows, then you need to go through a different route. Let's go ahead and do that. But we're still gonna need this number anyway, because that's what we need to compare to. So go ahead and open the downloaded folder. And this is gonna be this beautiful file over here. So to calculate this checksum, I'm gonna be using the 7-zip program. You can download it easily if you go to the 7-zip.org. So if you go to the 7-zip.org, you can download this little piece of software that's only 1.6 megabyte, which you can use on Windows 64-bit, or you can even download it for the Windows 32-bit if you have that old computer. Anyway, it is very simple. Just click download, install it, and then you can use it to archive unarchived files and also use it for calculating the checksum, which I find very helpful. Before I've shown how to do it using the Windows PowerShell, which is a bit more complicated. It's still doable, still pretty easy, but it takes longer. So if you want to know how to do it using the regular Windows PowerShell, I'm going to attach the link in the description. But today I'm going to show you a much easier way. So go ahead and click on this download button here, download the software, install it, and then use it to calculate the SHA-256 checksum. For that, simply right click and go to 7-zip, then go to CRC SHA and click on the SHA-256. This will calculate this SHA-256 checksum and it's going to give you this number over here. Then open a simple notepad and copy this file here. Just double click on it, copy, and then paste it in the notepad. After that, go to this number here that's given on the website and copy everything up to here. So basically you just need to copy this alphanumeric sequence, only go into the space here and then copy it. Go back to the notepad, press Ctrl+F, then paste it and press Find Next. If you see this number highlighted here, this means it's a perfect match. So the file has been downloaded successfully, it's not been corrupted, which is really good. And we're going to proceed to the next step where we're going to flash this ISO file onto the USB drive. So now it's time to create a bootable USB drive that we can use to install Ubuntu on our computer. On Ubuntu's website, they recommend to use a USB flash drive with 12 GB or above, even though the file is only 5.9 GB, so I think the 8 GB will just work fine. You don't really need to have a 12 GB, but honestly, nowadays it's very difficult to find such small USB drives. You can easily get 16 GB. I'm going to be using a 32 GB USB drive, but you can use anything like 8 GB or more. And of course, for the PC or laptop that you will be installing it on, you're going to need at least 25 GB of space. And also, to create a bootable USB drive, Ubuntu is recommended to use Balena Etcher, and that's what we're going to be using today because it runs on Linux, Windows, and macOS. But just as a heads up, because I've been showing how to install different Linux distros in the past and just gathering all the feedback from different users, some people tend to have issues with Balena Etcher for some reason. It just doesn't want to flash or it just doesn't work. If it happens to you, you can check out my other video how to use Rufus. Rufus is another alternative flashing tool that you can use and it works almost 100%. But because Balena Etcher is a bit more simpler, it's just a few clicks and you're done, we're just going to use Balena Etcher. Let's go ahead and open it up. So just go to the etcher.balena.io, then click on the download Etcher and download the latest version. As you can see, they offer Etcher for Windows if you're on Windows, which we are. Then there is also for macOS, macOS ARM64, for Linux 64 and Linux 32. So just find the version that you need. then save, then click on it. It's gonna bring this beautiful window here. As you can see, it is very minimalistic, just a few buttons, and that's why I like to use Balena Etcher as well. Go ahead and plug in the USB drive that you're gonna be using to flash the ISO on. Make sure this USB drive is empty before you use it, or if there's any information on the USB drive, make sure to copy it before proceeding, because this process will format the USB drive and remove all the data on the USB drive, so it will be gone and you won't be able to recover it. So think twice before you do that. If you're sure that the USB drive is empty or you don't need any files on it, go ahead and proceed. So just click Flash from File, go to the Downloads bin, then choose the ISO file that we have downloaded, open it. As you can see, the actual size is a bit more than 5.9, and that's because they just using different ways to calculate the actual size. So it's a bit more, but 8 GB should still work. Then select Target, select the USB drive that you have inserted, then click Select, and simply click Flash. That's it. That's what I like about Balena Etcher. It is so simple, straightforward, just 3 clicks. But the disadvantage of using Balena Etcher is that it's a simple ISO writer app which flashes the ISO as is, like writing a disk image byte by byte. It doesn't inspect or modify partition tables or bootloaders, and if the ISO only supports, for example, GPT or UEFI, that's how you'll get it, and it may not boot on older legacy BIOS systems. There is no option to switch between MBR or GPT, BIOS or UEFI. So if you're running into any issues with Balena Etcher, you can use Rufus instead, and I do have a separate video how to use Rufus. So if this step doesn't work for you, you can follow through the link in the description. And what Rufus does, it is a more sophisticated ISO instructor plus the bootloader configurator. It has an ISO extraction mode, which allows you to extract the ISO content and recreate partition table for MBR or GPT, so that it will work on almost any computer. It also has a DD image mode like Balena Etcher, so it basically does the same thing, but because Ubuntu is recommended to use Balena Etcher and it is a bit more simple, I just want to show you how to use Balena Etcher. But like I said, if it doesn't work, go ahead and check out Rufus. And while it's flashing, I just want to share my thoughts about Linux and why it's a good idea to switch to Linux from Windows. Well, first of all, Linux, in most cases, it's free. So you don't have to buy the distro, you don't have to buy this operating system, which is really great. And, everybody likes free stuff, right? And especially when it's good. It's not simply like something like second grade or third grade. It's actually a first grade, it's really good, it has everything you need. Then second, Linux is much safer than Windows because there's way less viruses for Linux than for Windows. While that heavily depends on the portion of the PCs and laptops that are on Windows rather than on Linux, because if there are 90% of the computers on Windows, most viruses are made for Windows than for Linux, so you're much safer there. But also the way that Linux is designed, it always asks you before applying any operations, so you're much safer there. Nothing will be done before you know it. So that's another great thing. Then also it has a great community that tends to help each other, and you're gonna find a lot of helpful tips and tricks. For example, like I'm making this video for you guys so you know how to do that properly. And if you have any comments, questions, you can just drop them down in the comment section below. I'll try to help you if I can. But you can also find other people doing the same thing. You can find different forums, different help guides. So this is very great. People are helping each other. And by the way, the whole idea of using Linux is that it's an open source software. So basically you have an open code, so anybody who knows how to do that, they can check it, make sure there is no malware, there is no bad coding or anything like that. So it's just great. So it's much safer in that way. And then one more thing that I like is that there are different Linux distro. The variety of Linux distros is great. And it's not simple like you have to choose between Windows 11 or Windows 11 or macOS and macOS. Linux is completely different. You can choose from all these different distros like Ubuntu, Linux Mint, Pop OS, CachyOS, and they all offer different experience. They all work great, so you can find the one that really works for you. And also, if you want to see and learn how to install these different Linux distros and learn how to use them, I have playlists on my channel you can check out if you're interested. Let me know if you also have tried other Linux distros and what you like about them and what you don't like about them and why you have decided to try out Ubuntu. That will be interesting to know. Is it your first time using Linux? Are you transferring from Windows or macOS? Or have you tried other Linux distros before and you just simply want to try Ubuntu? Anyway, the flashing is almost over, the validation is over. We can go ahead and continue to the second step. Use this USB drive to start Ubuntu on our computer in a live boot session, and then after that install it on the computer. Let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so it is complete. Let's go ahead and just close it, and we can remove the USB drive. Alright, what's next? Now we have successfully created our bootable USB drive. I'll guide you step by step through the installation process. First, insert the bootable USB drive into your computer and start your computer. Before start booting into the existing operating system on your computer, press the boot menu key. This varies depending on your motherboard. On my computer it is F12, but I'm gonna put a list of all possible keys for different computer manufacturers, so just choose the one that is designed for your computer. After that, select USB drive from the list and hit enter to boot into CacheOS live environment. Alright, when you see this splash screen says try or install Ubuntu, simply click on it. If for some reason it will not work for you, you can try Ubuntu Safe Graphics. This will just disable some graphic features to make sure that it will be compatible with the hardware. You can install the drivers later at a later point, but it will help you load the system. If everything works good, simply choose the first option and press enter. It will start loading into the Ubuntu live environment. After that, we can set it up and start the installation process. Alright, there we go. So we have loaded into the Ubuntu's live environment. This is where we can try, test Ubuntu, see how it works, see if we like it, see if all the drivers are set up, if we can connect to the internet, and so on. You can also keep exploring it and see how you like it. As you can see, it has already a few apps pre-installed, such as Firefox, Thunderbird Mail, Files, Rhymebox, LibreOffice, and the App Center. So yeah, you can definitely just take your time and see how it works. That's the beauty of the live boot. You can do whatever you want in this operating system and nothing will be saved because everything will be gone as soon as you shut it down. So that's a plus. You can explore it, install apps, see how it works. And then after you shut it down, nothing will be saved, so you don't have to mess up your actual system. If everything works for you, now we can continue with the installation. First, we gotta choose the language, then press next. Then if you need any accessibility customizations, you can do that. If you don't need that, just press next. Then select the keyboard layout. I'll just choose English. You can choose any other one that you like. You can also test to type, see how it works. Yep, everything's working. So press next. Then you can choose to connect to the internet. This will improve your installation with the stability check and extra software packages. So it is recommended to do that. And I'm definitely gonna choose the first option, use wire connection. Just press next. And it says an update is available for the installer. It is a good idea to get the latest version, so why not update it? Let's go ahead and click update now. It would have been better if it would show that the update is available before I start the whole process, but anyway, let's go ahead and update it. It's just gonna update the installer, maybe we'll make it better, not sure what's there, so let's restart the installer again. So we'll close it, start it again. So if the installer is already been closed, just click install Ubuntu here in the bottom right corner, and it will start running the installer again. So we're just gonna quickly go through the same steps. Here you can choose how you want to install it. We're gonna do with an interactive installation. This will let us choose what we want step by step. It's a guided process. If you want to do it for the advanced installation, it's gonna be automated, but it's more for professional advanced users, which we're not gonna do. So we'll just choose interactive installation and then press next. Actually, Ubuntu installer has way more features than other installers that I've tried before. they give you more options, which I don't know if they're really needed for most users, but that's how it is. And I could feel like a slight delay every time I press the button next. It just takes a few time to think what's going on, and then it just goes to the next step. In other distros, I didn't notice that. It was just like much quicker. You just go next, 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 and it's all going pretty quick. Here you can choose what apps you want to install. We'll just go with the default. You can choose extended selection if you want to get an offline friendly selection of office tools, utilities, and web browser. But remember, you can always install them later through the software center, like this one here, the app center. So I will just keep that. Then in this tab, it is very important to highlight this: install third-party software for graphics and Wi-Fi hardware. This will include the NVIDIA graphics drivers and others, usually the Wi-Fi drivers that are proprietary. If you don't want to have any issues with the Wi-Fi, I highly recommend highlighting this option. And then also it's a good idea to download and install support for additional media formats. So yeah, that's pretty important if you don't want to download them later. I mean, it's not going to take huge amount of space on your disk. Honestly, I would just install them on default, wouldn't even ask, because, well, you really need to have those codecs to play MP3 or MP4 files. So who would want to have an operating system without those codecs, unless you want to have like absolute minimalistic system that you want to just install yourself. But anyway, this is what we want. Then press next. Now in this step, you need to choose how you want to install Ubuntu. The first option is the most simple: erase disk and install Ubuntu. This will start from scratch on your selected disk, but keep in mind this will remove everything from that disk because it's going to be formatted. All the files will be gone. So before doing that, make sure to copy everything from the disk. Having a backup copy is always a good idea, but anyway, make sure to copy all important files from the disk, because all the files will be gone and you won't be able to recover them. The second option is for advanced users. It is a manual installation. This will help you customize the partitions. You can basically create your own partitions on your disk, like for the root, for the home folders, for the swap partition, and more. So it is more complicated, but it's preferred if you want to have like a dual boot setup for Ubuntu and Windows, for example. But it is more complicated. We will not cover it in this video. If you want to know how to install, for example, Linux and Windows on the same system, which is going to be like a dual boot setup, I have a separate, very detailed video how to do that. So I'll just put a link in the description. You can check out if you're interested. But in this video, we're going to simply go with the easiest way: just erase disk and install Ubuntu. This will be a good option for most of the users. So just simply select erase disk and install Ubuntu. You can also check the advanced features if you like. This will help you encrypt the home folder and so on, but we're not going to really get much into these details. So we'll just go with the first one and then press next. Here you got to create your computer name, your username, create a password. You can select to require my password to log in. I usually don't do that. But if you're using it on the computer that somebody has access to, yes, you need to highlight this, then press next. Then go ahead and choose your time zone. This will make sure you get in the correct time and all the currency and everything. So here is your summary, and you just can double check it, make sure you have set up everything how you like it, and simply press install. Now just sit back and relax. It will start copying the files. It might take a few minutes, especially because Ubuntu is quite heavy. It might take more time than usual, usually about maybe like 15 minutes or so. But I'm just going to fast forward it until it's done. And then we're going to continue on, restart the computer, and start loading from the operating system. Well, honestly, the installation wasn't that long. It only took 8 minutes, something like that. Let me know in the comment section below how long it took your computer to install Ubuntu. That'd be interesting to compare. Anyway, after it has been finished, you can either continue testing it, but I don't see why would you need to continue testing it if you have already installed it, or just simply restart it. Press restart now, and then go ahead and remove the USB stick that you've been using to install Ubuntu on the computer, because you don't want it to be loading again from the exact same USB drive. We have already installed the operating system, and we want it to start from the internal disk. After restarting, it should start loading from your internal disk. If for some reason it doesn't start loading, make sure that the drive that you have installed Ubuntu on is in the first booting position in the BIOS settings. If you need to know how to do that, I'll attach another video where I show you how to change the boot priority order in the BIOS settings. Check it out if it doesn't start loading. Also, if for some reason it doesn't load, you might want to try to disable secure boot, even though it should work with secure boot. If it doesn't load, you might want to disable it to see if that's going to help. Anyway, we are in the Ubuntu. Welcome to Ubuntu 24.04.2. This is LTS, and we can check out what it offers us. So you can enable Ubuntu Pro, skip for now, help improve Ubuntu. You can share the data if you like, or if you don't want to share it, just say no, don't want to share my data, and press next. You can open up the App Center if you want to install new applications. It actually works much better than from the USB drive. So here you can choose the most popular apps. It looks a bit different than Linux Mint or other distributions, but here, yeah, you can definitely find the one that you need. So, and press finish. So as you can see, it looks very minimalistic, and the display, which is GNOME, it doesn't look like Windows. Unlike, like, for example, Linux Mint that uses Cinnamon desktop environment, which looks much like Windows. This one's a lot different. Your main features are over here, your volume here, your internet, your power mode, balanced, power saver. You can switch to the dark style if you like. As you can see, it's switched immediately to the dark style. I kind of like the regular style more, actually. Here's your battery, your screenshot, your settings. You can lock your system. You can power it off, reboot. I kind of like the way it looks. Here's your calendar here. So it's a bit small, actually. Maybe need to make it a little bit bigger. But anyway, so here's your Firefox, your files. Then your App Center, help, trash. Then if you click here, here's your most of your settings, additional drivers, firmware updater. You can update your system, software and updates, system monitor. Let's check it out. So here's your resources. Right now at the moment, it's using 1.5 GB of RAM when it's idling. So we still got lots, so I got 12 GB of RAM, but it's actually using 1.5 simply just by idling. Then, of course, the first thing you want to do is update your system, see if there's any more updates. Here's a terminal. You can go sudo apt update to see if there are any updates. Then run sudo apt upgrade and just press Y and press enter, and it should upgrade all the packages. It's a good practice after installing a new operating system so that you get in the latest version. So yeah, basically we have got Ubuntu installed on our computer. I hope this video will be helpful to you. If it's helpful to you, please give it a thumbs up. If you're first time to the channel, please take a second to click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss new videos. Also, if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please drop them down in the comment section below. I'll try to help you if I can. And if you like what I'm doing and would like to support my channel, you can use super thanks to support my channel or just buy me a coffee. The support links are in the description. Also, if you would like to learn more about Linux, you can check out my Linux playlist. But this is it for today. I hope you have a nice day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.